The Home Building and Remodeling Show. Let's go! Welcome everybody to the Home Building and Remodeling Show. My name is Chris Kirby and I'll be your host. I am the owner of 3 construction companies on the Alabama Gulf Coast. The show is about residential construction. We're going to cover topics of home building and remodeling. Are you thinking of doing a remodel or building a home? Are you a contractor looking to improve your knowledge base or grow your business? Have you ever done a remodel project or built a home? There were so many things you wish you knew or that you could have done differently during the process. Then this show is for you. We break down the process of building and remodeling and how to have the best results during your project. Whether you're a DIYer looking for tips, someone looking to hire a contractor to do a project, or a contractor looking to expand your knowledge base or your business. Welcome aboard. Glad to have you. Stay tuned.
Welcome everybody to this week's show. I am excited to continue our Women in Construction Month. And we're going to continue this week's episode with sharing Jan's story. She is a project manager that works here at the Kirby Companies. And she has worked her way from basically being a laborer when we first hired her on. Even though she had a stronger skill set, she came in as a helper, was a part of one of our crews, and worked her way up to becoming a crew lead. And then from there, she had a shoulder injury, and which kept her from doing some of the heavy lifting. But she was such an asset. She had already made herself such an asset to us that I wanted to keep her. And so we had her doing stuff at the office. We had her doing ordering, receiving, shipping, helping the clients get their materials together, helping the teams, running material. She was very important to us as a material. Basically, we call them a material clerk. And then she really just started handling all the logistics when the design team left. And she was making sure, meeting with clients, taking care of the clients, making sure they knew where to go to get their materials, helping them make selections. So her role had expanded at a tremendous rate. And a lot of that was just her ability to interact and take care of the clients. And when I say take care of the clients, that means not letting them get in their own way. So a lot of times during our construction process, people don't understand how decision-making is super important. And a slowdown in that decision-making process is a slowdown in the project. So we try to make sure we have a lot of that stuff taken care of up front. And it's Jan's job to point them in the right direction. So for instance, in a kitchen or a bathroom, there's going to be, 25 things that they've got to pick out and order. Jan corrals them, right? We always giving them an allowance on a lot of that stuff, and some stuff they just have to go and shop for on their own. But for instance, their tile, we give them allowance, and Jan helps them stay within that budget and send them to the right vendor to make sure that they're shopping for tile that matches their budget, and then also the look of things. So she was handling those interactions, taking care of the client, taking care of the team still. All logistics were running through Jan. All material readiness and job readiness ran through Jan as it was. So it was a natural fit when we decided that we needed her to help with project manager. We really didn't have a true project manager. We had construction superintendents that were running the job sites, but there was a gap for us in that office admin and then true project management, the logistics, the planning and scheduling, all of those things that now are on her plate as a project manager. She has grown and evolved into that role, really has been an asset to us, and we couldn't do what we do without Jan. Her story is so inspiring. Her story of being told that she couldn't be a builder because she was a woman, and that's just not something that women do, right? That was kind of looked down upon, or I would say not looked down upon, but it just wasn't the norm. She worked for another crew before coming to us. She learned how to frame. She's built her own house. How many people that can say they've built their own house? And when I say built their own house, I'm not talking about she generally contracted it, right? Or no, she was there standing up walls, doing the framing, doing all of the things it takes to get a home built. She was hands on. And so we're going to continue sharing her story. But right after Jan, we have Shannon Evans, who joined us. We recorded her episodes. You're going to hear those released the day after Labor Day. And I'm excited. She is a DIY expert. She is another person who, again, just has such an inspiring story. You know, a female builder putting her hands on things, making things. She believes in the power of manifestation. And she is now on, her episodes are airing on HGTV for Renovation Resort Showdown. And it is such a blessing to watch her. She was able to come to us. She reached out last year and said, hey, I would love to learn some stuff from you guys. Where are you located? Is this a workshop? Is this a school? And we get a lot of that, but no, we're not a separate workshop or a school. This is just our construction companies taking the time to train our team, and everything that you see in our how-tos is us either A, in our workshop training in the back on our training days, or B, something that a job that we're doing for a client out in the field. It could be a kitchen remodel, a bathroom remodel, interior remodel, whole home remodel, addition, just a bevy of things that we do here at the Kirby Companies, a complete home build, which, you know, our company, Kirby Homes, does custom homes. So we're going to walk you through all of that stuff. We're going to talk to the pros who are in it with us, and we're going to continue to diversify our population in the construction industry. And I believe that some of the guests that I have coming up are going to add so much value. Their stories are so inspiring. Right after Shannon, we're going to have Sarah Trop. She's been in a couple of cool things. I'll let her talk about that on the show. One I know I can talk about is the flea market flip, where she basically had to find furniture and basically upscale it to sell it, right? That's what flea market flip is about. She's another DIY expert, but also she's another person that is actually doing the work. She's worked on historic homes. She's done flipping. She's done a lot of things, design, and she's a joint team with her husband. So I look forward to that conversation with her. I know you'll enjoy it, and we're going to continue this beat of women in construction over the next few weeks. And if you want to be on the show or you want to be a guest on the show, please reach out to us at thehomebuildingshow@gmail.com. I'll respond. I'll get you an introductory interview with myself, and we'll just kind of chop it up about construction, about your story, make sure it's a good fit, and then we'll get you on the show. I appreciate you tuning in. Listen out for Jan's continued story. Thanks.
Welcome to Shop Talk, the segment where we bring in a co-host or special guest and just chop it up about home building, remodeling, and DIY. This is where stories get shared, lessons get learned, and we dive into the real side of the craft, straight from the people living it every day.
It makes a difference to how you're planning.
Yeah. So then you wait on them to make a selection, and then we coordinate how to get it, because usually we can get a better deal, or we mark it up or whatever, because we do have some small selections here of tile and cabinets and things. So they make their selection, and then we have to get it. And sometimes there is budget restrictions, right? Because we do multiple projects and multiple builds.
Yes.
So a part of the emphasis we place on the client is basically get in line. And, you know, to reserve that, we do a deposit. But also, like, we've got a client currently that we're working with that we were supposed to start in the beginning of June. We probably got the deposit in May or something. And then the client came to us, and they've pushed it to, I think, July, August. Now it may even be into September.
I think it's September.
Right. And they still haven't made selections, right? Which is okay. It's kind of nice for them to say, I've given you a deposit, but I'm going to take 3-4 months to make selections. Don't worry about it.
You just don't bank on that.
Yeah, but most of the time it's the opposite. Hey, I'm giving you a deposit. I'm ready to start the project. And you're like, hey, we are too, but you need to pick something. And then you have to talk about the allowance side and how that works as far as what they were allowed by the estimator, right? So when we say allowance, we're talking about the cost of, let's just say, we'll stick the tile is, I don't know, $500 for a shower floor or something like that, right? And then all of a sudden they go and they're looking and they get the shiny thing that's double, right?
it.
And so that can't be a fun conversation sometimes to have.
No, because you kind of have to break their heart by saying, well, I'm glad you picked a tile out. However, it's above your allowance. So if you want that tile, there will be an overage, which was already discussed at estimation time. It can be challenging sometimes.
We talk about it. Like, so when Adam goes out and does his estimates, he lets them know, listen, these are, it's a rough estimate. These are rough allowances based on what we've done in the past. And we've done, 100 bathrooms. Each one is different. Each client is different. The process is the same. However, their needs, wants, and, allowances are all different based on him going on site and having that conversation with them. But what happens is, you wait so long to start the project, whether it's we've got other clients ahead, whether it's, they haven't picked something out, they forget a lot of that stuff. And we put it in there. This is an allowance. And we do debits and credits on our allowances.
We do.
All right. So how does that part work when it comes to having an allowance for a remodel?
Your debits and credits, depending on what kind of selections that you have. If you're over, then obviously you've got an overage. However, if you're under on another one, you can use what's left on that allowance to pay for some of your overage on another one.
So usually it kind of starts to offset, and towards the end, we kind of finalize and say, look, you're owed money or we're owed money.
Yes.
Unless it's a change order and it's something that we have to pay for at the time, then they have to pay us. Okay. So from that, you already were dealing with budget, client selections, right?
Yes.
You already had the field experience. You were hands-on. You had the course under your belt. And then I had the bright idea to say, well, let's continue to elevate your position. Obviously, you're doing something good for us here. And we have now put you in the position over the past month or so. You've stepped into the position as a project manager. And for us, we have construction superintendents. I have an operations manager, but realistically, how a project manager is supposed to function and what we've been doing are two different things. So now I've asked you to be a project manager in a position that has a standard and responsibilities, but we haven't operated that way as a true project manager. We've had our construction superintendents kind of doing a little bit of everything. And then you were doing logistics and Adam's estimating and Tammy's answering calls. But the project manager is responsible for a couple of major things, right? Planning, scheduling, right? Coordinating. So let's talk about some of what I've asked you to do as a project manager. What would you say is your primary function? And then that'll bring us to the questions you knew I was going to ask you. Okay. So like, what excites you the most, and then what intimidates you about being a project manager?
Excitement is the challenge.
Okay.
I love a challenge. And as far as intimidation is, if I get it wrong.
Yeah.
I know people are allowed to make mistakes, but I don't like making mistakes.
Yeah. And you know what? It's scary at first, but you have already dealt with. So essentially, when you get it wrong or something in construction, the client's upset. The client gets aggravated or frustrated, and sometimes the conversation isn't so nice. And then sometimes they're okay because they understand how hard it is to actually do a project, coordinate it and everything. So that is the intimidating part. And then you've got me asking you questions because I'm always, what's going on? What are we doing? When are we getting started? So you obviously have handled that for the most part, doing the logistic stuff anyway, but stepping into the responsibility of not just the coordination, but now it is a larger management role.
And it's not just one project.
Yeah.
We have several projects.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you're balancing all of those. And I know that part can be intimidating and overwhelming. So how do you plan to lead a team when people here and even out in the field have more experience in the industry than you do? Does that part scare you any, or how does that make you feel? Like, is that the challenge part that you're talking about? Or
maybe I have to understand that I have to have the willingness to listen.
Yeah.
Most definitely. And I'm also willing to learn from others that have more experience and knowledge than me.
Right.
And by having that and not just going, it's my way, highway, I think will really help.
So you can lean
development and leading them.
Yeah. So you can lean on them and include them in the decision-making process, right? I mean, you kind of have to, and lean on that experience. Okay. Do you think there was any kind of thoughts about you becoming the project manager or anything? Or do you think that just was like, it's Jan and Jan kicks butt and here we are? It was kind of a no-brainer.
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think there was, honestly, just because of who you are. So I don't think, and hopefully, knock on wood, like there's this thing with women in construction and positions and authority and different, responsibilities. But hopefully here we've got a culture that really combats that. And you're not seeing too much, but industry wide, it is a thing, right?
It's a male-dominated culture.
That's right. But you are essentially in a position of like the number 2 really behind Casey as far as operations go, and which is a big deal. But it's not because you are a female or, it's because of how you work, how you interact with people. For me, the biggest decision piece on putting you in that position was how honest and frank you are with your conversations, right? Yeah. So some people may view that as a negative, but you don't say things in a negative manner. You say things with an honest tone, and you're Chris, we can't do that, or Chris, we need to do this, and that's why I want somebody in that position.
I'm not a sugarcoater.
Right. You don't. And that is okay. You say it like it is, and that's exactly what we need for somebody that's going to have as much responsibility as you do. And clients who we call friends and neighbors that live in our community, we don't want to do a bad job.
No.
We never intend on doing a bad job. And I need somebody helping to lead the charge that I know is going to not only have, the client's back, but our back as well, and keep us straight. Male, female, it's irrelevant. You just need to keep everybody in the company straight and be honest and stuff. What leadership qualities, we kind of just were hitting on some, but do you think matter on a construction site?
I think communication is very big.
Yeah.
If you don't have the communication between all members of your team, it's a big aspect. And the other one is just overall safety.
Yeah. Okay. And we were kind of hitting on trust as well. And for me, as the company owner and the license holder, right, I have to trust that you're going to go into the field and be safe and do things right and do things by the book. And I can't do that alone with as many projects as we have and clients as we have. That's where your role becomes super crucial for me as the project manager. So trust is absolutely one of the key factors that you need to be on a construction site. Yeah. Whether you're the project manager or the supervisor, or the team member. So do you see your background as a tradeswoman shaping your leadership style? Does that come into effect? What have you learned that would separate like the female and male perspective that maybe I can't see, but maybe that you can? Like, where do you think that being a tradeswoman?
For me, if I hadn't had the experience and the knowledge that I've managed to gain over the years with being out in the field, I think even my nursing career too, because it helps with planning and organizing, because you don't just have one patient.
Yeah.
I think if I didn't have that, I wouldn't even know where to start with the project management side of things. So it's definitely a start. And I don't mind asking questions. If I don't know everything, I don't pretend I know everything. So if I have a question, I will seek the answer out no matter how many people I have to go to.
And do you think that the fact that you didn't just jump straight into project management, some people do hire, there's general construction companies that will hire fresh out of college, male or female is irrelevant, but they'll hire them fresh out of college and put them into a project manager role and teach them how to, be a paper project manager. So there is a difference in being a paper contractor, right? And that's where you're going to sub everything out. You manage the paperwork, manage the bills, yada, yada. Here we have employees, but you come from the field. Do you think that's an advantage?
Yes, because you know what you're looking for if you go on a project site.
Absolutely.
Not everything is all in a book.
That's right. And that is, I think, a game changer for us, is that there's value in the fact that you were in the field doing the work, right? But also it gives you perspective on how to treat people doing the work that you were doing, right? You can appreciate how hot it is. Right now we're middle of July.
Yes, it's hot.
It's hot. So as a project manager, some of the things you may think of for the job site and get to prepare for the job site comes from experience in the field, right? That definitely is different, and I say tradeswoman and trade in general, meaning you were out there doing this. So you have grown from that. Then you did some office management where you were doing a logistics piece, and now you've become a project manager. So for me, the answer to that is yes, you having that experience in the field. And it's just like my son now, he has to start from the bottom and work his way up. He has to gain the knowledge of basic, the foundations of construction, but B, he has to develop an appreciation for what could potentially be his future employees or team, and understand that positional authority, in my opinion, only goes so far. You have to value life experience.
Thanks for joining us today. As always, we are grateful for our listeners and your continued support. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media via Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Get more info at our website, www.thehomebuildingshow.com. And as always, remember who we are, the Home Building and Remodeling Show.